Let's talk the cup. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk the cup. Woo!
Hey everybody, it's Cutler here on the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast, the Let's Talk to Cutler YouTube channel, and the Let's Talk to Cutler virtual book club, as it were. And I keep saying that from time to time because most of us remember when this platform started out as a virtual book club, we were reviewing some of the books that I had written. And who knows, we may get back to doing some of that at some point. But I just wanted to say thank you for chiming in. Thank you for tuning in. If this is your very first time, I want to remind you that this channel, this station, this platform is about inspiration. It's about motivation. It's about challenging ourselves to make sure that we've shown up today better than we did yesterday, making sure that we are intentional about showing up tomorrow better than we did today. And with this overarching goal, this overarching theme of making sure that we try to show up our best selves, even in the worst of situations. I keep saying try because sometimes we miss the mark. We don't always show up our best selves 100% of the time. Come on, y'all know that's true. We don't always show up our best self, but it's not for lack of trying, and it is not for a lack of having these nuggets and these tools and these bits and pieces from these conversations somewhere tucked in our arsenal. We do that. And so one of the things that I always want to make sure that we try to do is rehearse and remind ourselves of these tools that we have available, and to remind ourselves of these conversations that we have. We have these 1,800-second conversations for a reason, you all. And it is my hope that they really do us some good. They really, really do help me as I go through life, as I navigate different corridors and meander the world. I'm always mindful of these conversations, and I hope you all too. I hope you all are as well. I hope you all are too. And so let's go into this conversation. I want to thank those of you who are joining me over in the chat. You know, from time to time, I'll go on and acknowledge the LTTC VIPs. Those are the people who jump in the chat, and they are the people that I see from my perspective. Now, I know sometimes some of you always say, I got in the chat first, but I usually acknowledge the ones from this perspective. Again, I want to say thank you all for so many of you who have been with me 2-3 years now. Over 3 years we've been doing this. I want to say thank you for that. And I want to remind people that if this is your first time, there's enough negativity out there. There is enough initial perspectives of looking at things from a sour point of view. And so there's enough of that. There's enough negativity. There's enough not even optimistic outlooks. So that there's this notion of being vile and nasty and evil and negative and making people feel bad. There's enough of that out there, but that's not what this platform is about. This platform is about us taking the time to hopefully share something that will encourage people, that will inspire people, that will motivate people, and that will sometimes challenge people to just want to be better. Better is not this place that's off in the distance that you can't achieve. Better happens as soon as you believe in your heart and mind that you can be better. It is this mindset that says, I don't have to settle. I don't have to stay here. There's another perspective. There is another realm of who I am. There's another dimension of me that's greater than where I am in this moment. And that is one of the things that I just always try to get us to see. I try to get us to focus on that better is possible. I know sometimes in life, we get to a certain plateau and we think that we've seen all that there is. We've done all that can be done, and we think there's nothing else left to do. But purpose is dynamic. Purpose is dynamic. And we're moving through purpose every single day. So keep moving, keep navigating, keep meandering, keep striving, keep working towards the mark, keep pressing, keep doing what you do. Sometimes we get a little weary and well doing, and sometimes we feel like we need to take a breather, and taking a breather is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The last time we chatted, and again, this is the end of the month of June, which means that we really have made it to that halfway mark in the year. And the last time we chatted, we talked about this whole notion of not panicking. And we said that we would check in with each other and we would check in with ourselves. But for the most part, it was about checking in with other people and just asking them, are you okay? It is the end of the month. It is the end of the month of June. It's the halfway mark of the year. Are you okay? How are you doing? And I challenged us to check in with other people. But this evening in our conversation, I want us to just go back and check in with ourselves again. And I want us to realize that for as much as we talk about inspiration and motivation and challenging ourselves and being better and trying to do this and trying to do that, I wanted us to just step back at some point and realize from a very pragmatic and practical and real perspective that sometimes we're just not okay. Sometimes we just are not okay. And I want to talk about how do we handle that. Now, I'm fine, but I have had those moments where I just wasn't okay. Now, good, bad, or indifferent, I found myself in some moments where I wasn't okay. And people would call and say, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing, man? How are things going? And you want to say, I'm okay, I'm all right. But that's not, but true friends know that you're lying to yourself because you're not lying to them, because they know that you're really not okay. And I wanted to talk about how to handle those moments when we are not okay. With some of my friends experiencing deaths and the passing of loved ones, I've said to some of them, when people call you and they ask how you're doing, remove the words I'm okay or I'm all right from your temporarily remove that from your vocabulary, because we are programmed to say things like, oh, I'm okay, everything's all right. I just thought about my uncle, my uncle who passed. He would always say everything's all right. When the truth of the matter is, everything was not always all right. And even in your lives and the lives of people in your circle and in your space and in your community and in your tribe and in your village, we have to be observant. And sometimes we have to listen to them. And when we ask them, how are they doing? Make sure we listen, make sure that we hear and listen, so that when they say everything's okay or I'm all right, you have to make sure that you listen with more than just your ears. You have to hear with this just more than your ears. You have to hear with your eyes and your heart and all of those things that make you a friend, that make you a person of trust. And so when they say things like that, you have to be prepared to say, okay, you're saying with your mouth, but your heart and your nonverbal communications are not they're not in congruence with what your mouth is saying. You're not always okay. It doesn't mean that you have. It doesn't mean that you have failed tremendously. It doesn't mean that your life is a flop. It doesn't mean that anybody has done you wrong. But sometimes you're just not okay. You could just not be okay with having not reached certain goals, or just wherever you are in life, or just when life is happening, when life is doing what it does. Sometimes you are not necessarily okay. And I want to talk about that for a moment. I want to talk about how do we handle those moments. Because how many of you all know, I mean, be honest with me, you all, how many of you all can honestly say that there are times when you're just not okay? You're just not okay mentally. You're just not okay psychologically. You're just not okay physically. You're just not okay financially. You're just not okay emotionally. Sometimes you're just not okay spiritually. You say, I'm okay. There are moments when I'm really not okay. Let me just put on my Southern flair for just a moment. Ain't nobody done nothing to me, but there are moments when I'm just not okay. Life is just happening, and I'm just trying to deal with the ins and the outs and the roundabouts of life, and life has just got me in this pattern, and I'm not okay. Life is unraveling, and it's not necessarily unraveling like I thought it would be. And so it is okay, you all. Sometimes things just aren't going to go so great. One day you might be feeling fine, and the next day you're feeling low. One day you're feeling up, and the next day you're feeling down, and that is okay. But I want to talk about how do we handle those moments when you're just not okay? What do we do? Because life is dynamic. And sometimes life does not seem to leave a lot of room for navigating those moments when you're not your best self. People will hold you hostage to their expectations of you. But there are some things that we can do. There are some things that we can put into place, some things that we can execute to handle those moments. And I want to talk about those for a few moments. I hope I get through the majority of the things that I would like to talk about. But we can get through those moments. How, Cutler, do we handle those moments when we're just not okay? And you all talk back to me in the chat this evening, please, because I want to make this as dynamic and as interactive as possible. Excuse me, because I really do believe that we have these moments and we have these seasons where it's just a humdrum kind of situation and you're just not okay. And I want to talk about how to handle that. I want to talk about something that was real the last time we chatted. Again, that's why I talked about, you don't have to panic. And how do we recognize when we are panicking? How do we recognize when our friends are panicking? I want to make sure that we understand, how do we recognize when we're not okay? How do we recognize when our friends are not okay? When the people that we love and we trust and who are in our circles, how do we recognize when they are not okay? And what do we do when we are not okay? Because a whole lot of times we're so busy being strength for other people until we find ourselves in a weak moment and nobody recognizes that we are weak because we're always trying to be so strong. I know I'm trying to save somebody's life. Cutler, what do we do in those moments when there's this expectation that I'm always up, but the truth of the matter is I don't feel up? What do I do? Sometimes, you all, I'm just going to go through these tidbits and these helpful hints, and I hope you all find them very helpful because I found these things to be true. A lot of times, one of the things that you can do is just change your environment. What do you mean? Do you mean I have to buy a plane ticket and just fly to the south of France? That would be nice if that's where you like to go. I'd like the south of France. Do I fly to Australia or Brazil? That's wonderful. They're both, all those are wonderful places. But no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about anything that drastic. But when I say change your environment, you all, sometimes you just have to get up and move from where you are. I mean, literally just get up and move where you are, because there are some people, when they're upset, when they're down in the dumps, when they're depressed, their bedroom becomes this place like this cave of gloom and doom. Some people would just go to the bedroom when they're upset and they will put their head on the bed and cover on the pillow and just cover their heads up with the covers. But you can't always do that. Change that environment. Get up and walk outside. Go to a different room. I'm telling you all what I know. Don't go to the same room in your house where you go to seek comfort when you are depressed. Change the room. Go somewhere else. Don't succumb to that trap. Open the blinds, open the shades, open the curtains. Let the sunlight in. Change the room. So sometimes all you have to do is just change the environment. I'm not okay. Just get up, change the environment, walk to a different room, turn the lights on. It works. It helps. It really, really does. And then one of the things that you can do is when you're not okay and you just need to take a step back from the world for a moment, don't be embarrassed about the things that make you happy. My sister-in-law one of my sister-in-laws loves puzzles. She absolutely loves puzzles. And whenever she gets a chance to step back and take a break, she would get a 500 or 1,000 piece puzzle and put that puzzle together. I know people who enjoy now this electronic version of solitaire on their iPads and on their cell phones or on their laptops. There are people who like to play different games. There are people who like to just walk and listen to music, or just walk and spin stories in their heads. Whatever it is, don't be embarrassed about the things that make you happy. When you're not okay, engage in those activities, in those moments, as long as you're not bringing harm to yourself or anybody else. Engage in those moments and those activities unashamedly. If you like to binge watch, if binge watching TV makes you feel happy in the moment, then go ahead and binge watch. If you're anal and you need to organize things, and you need to make sure that all the clothes are put in your closet in a certain color or whatever it is, if those things make you happy, if they make you feel good, then just go ahead and do it. Sometimes we let people impose these prisons on us, place us in these jail cells, make you feel embarrassed and ashamed about the things that make you happy. No, go right ahead. If you like to play solitaire, if that helps you, go right ahead. If you like to put puzzles together, go right ahead. If you like to binge watch TV, go right ahead. Don't be embarrassed or ashamed about the things that make you happy. And then I want to say this to you all. One of the things that you have to do is to make sure that you allow yourself not to be the best. Give yourself permission not to be the best. What are you saying, Cutler? I thought we said failure is not an option. No, you never heard me say that, because sometimes I say failure is an option. It's not one that you always want to take, but sometimes it's one that becomes your fate. It's not one that you always want to take, but sometimes it's one that becomes your fate. You just happen to fall into that space at the time. And that's why sometimes you may not be okay. And can I tell you this? I told you it's not always a compliment to say to yourself that, hey, I'm such a perfectionist, because you put yourself in this space. You set yourself up for failure. But you don't need to do that. And I could come back and talk about that. It's not always a compliment to oneself to say, hey, I'm such a perfectionist. No, that's not always a good thing. But what I'm talking about now is that it's okay. Allow yourself not to be the best at everything you do. You're not going to be the best. So give yourself the space not to be the best. As a matter of fact, can I say this? Sometimes it's just liberating to screw up. I know that sounds crazy. And I'm not saying that we have to do that. We could say to our children, "Oh, it's okay, you can screw up." No. No, what I'm saying is that for people who succumb to the pressure to all the time be on 100 all the time. Every time we see you, you have to be on 100, and we never give you a break. For that person, it's liberating to just screw up sometime, because I mean the pressure. Wow, the pressure, the expectations. We have to give ourselves permission not to be perfect at everything all the time. And maybe that will help us in those moments where we say, you know what, I'm just not okay today. Maybe you're not okay because you've always tried to be at 100% of the time. And for you, it would be liberating just to screw up one time. I can tell you, sometimes people would impose these pressures on me. I'm just talking from my perspective, y'all. Sometimes people would impose these pressures on me, particularly academically and in the workplace. I almost said everything that I set out to do. And I'll let them do it. And there were times when I said, that's just too much pressure. That's too much pressure. And I would take a calculated risk and just drop the ball, because I was tired of taking it, tired of carrying it. Because sometimes, you all, the ball we're carrying is not our own. Good God Almighty. It would be okay if I were just carrying my own. But sometimes when we drop the ball, we may drop our own ball because we're carrying those of other people. We're trying to carry our stuff and their stuff. And sometimes we will sacrifice our stuff because we're so busy trying to carry theirs. But sometimes you just got to open your arms and let it go. because the muscles, the nerves, and the tendons in your proverbial arm, they just get tired and you can't carry all that stuff. So sometimes it's just liberating to screw up and just let it all fall. Trying to be all things to all people all the time, it just does not work. How did that work for you? It doesn't always work. So what might we need to do? Slow down. Life is fast-paced. Life is dynamic. Life moves. It keeps going. And when you're hit by anxiety, when you're hit by panic, when you're hit by these curveballs, a lot of times you don't have a lot of time to do anything about the thing that hits you in the moment. So what am I saying? Just slow down. In life, just learn how to slow down. How many times we plan to do so much stuff, y'all. We plan to do so many things. You got a meeting, you got to go this, you got to go to the gym, you have a session here, you have to go to somebody's birthday party, you got to go to this, you got to go to that. And we carve out all this time for that. How often do you carve out or pencil in some wind down time? How often do you carve out or pencil in some slow down time? Because you can't wait until a situation hits you to try to slow down. You can't do it. So we just need to learn to carve in and write in our calendar some wind down time or some slow down time. Don't wait until a situation hits. Just write it down. Just carve it into your schedule, into your calendar. I'm not doing anything for 20, 30 minutes. I'm not doing anything today. Nope. Particularly in light of, having gone into pandemic mode, many of us, we were on cameras. I think in the height of the pandemic, I was in front of the camera, I think every day except Saturday. Every day except Saturday. And you get in this routine and in this rut, and things were happening. And I'm telling you all, there were times when I had to say to myself, slow down. And people would call me and check on me. People would sometimes want to FaceTime me. And if they wanted to FaceTime me, I had been on the camera so much. And I said, oh my God, I'm tired of this. Not another FaceTime, not another video conference, not another video call, not another video message. And so I had to carve in and write in time in my schedule to slow down and just wind down and debrief and just be with myself for a moment. It helps, y'all. It works. We need to learn to slow down. So when you're not okay, Cutler, what are you saying? I'm saying sometimes when you're just not okay, just slow down. Sometimes you're not okay because you've run out of gas, you've run out of energy, you've run out of steam. Because that's what you were doing, running. Slow down and walk and breathe. Stop. Slow your pace, slow your roll. I'm so serious about that, you all. I said it before. Slow down and inhale deeply through your nose and exhale slowly through your mouth. Slow down. When you're not okay, just slow down, because when you're not okay and you start running, you will run into potholes and you will run you'll run into obstacles and you'll run into hurdles. But just slow down. And when you're not okay, and you have to define those moments, but in those moments when you're not okay and you just feel blah. I wrote a poem that says, when there are lemons in your life and blahs in your days and oceans in your path and mountains in your ways, there are things that you have to do. Stop trying to see the big picture. That's one of the things that we can do. Stop trying to see the big picture and just focus on some of the small things. Accomplish something small. Because when you're feeling like a failure and when you're not feeling okay, and it's hard to see anything you do as a success, as a victory, or as an achievement, or as an accomplishment, when you are having those moments, think about the little things that you have done. Check them off your list. Well, I watered the plants today. It's small, but check it off your list. I called my older relatives today. It's small, but check it off your list. I paid some bills today. It's small, but check it off your list. And it may not be so small depending upon how much the bills are, but check it off your list, you all. Stop trying to focus on the big picture and learn to and learn to focus on some of these things that we call small, some of these things that we call insignificant. You are managing life, and there are people who would look at you and would want your life, because as you are managing life and you feel like you're struggling, you feel like it's not okay, and these things that you're doing and you're taking for granted, that is monumental to somebody else. What you're doing, how you manage life, how you're navigating life, even when you don't feel okay, is monumental to somebody else. Stop focusing on the big picture and focus on some of those little things that you do, because those little accomplishments, guess what? They are accomplishments nonetheless. Small victories are victories nonetheless. Small wins are wins nonetheless. Stop trying to see the big picture all the time. And a lot of times you can't see the big picture because you're right up on it, and you have to step back to see the big picture, because sometimes when you're so close to it, all you can focus on are the smaller pieces. I'm just trying to help somebody. And then when you're not okay, may I suggest to you to say something? There's this old adage that says a closed mouth doesn't get fed. And I'm not talking about it from the perspective of just trying to get something, but I'm talking about it from the perspective of saying that when you're in a rough patch, when you're having a rough moment, it is important to let someone else know you are. Why would you say that, Cutler? Because we hear this, we hear this saying that, keep calm and move on. Well, no, I can't keep calm and I can't move on, because right now I'm not okay. And I'm not saying me right now, but I'm just saying this is how we need to handle life. When you're not okay, when you're in those moments and you're not okay, you need to say to yourself, no, I don't have to keep calm and I don't have to carry on. I can stop. I can ponder. I can spaz out just a little. And when you're there, and when I say spaz out just a little, I mean to the point of just saying something to somebody. Just say, I'm not okay. Because a simple conversation can change your life. A simple conversation can help save somebody else's life. A simple conversation can change the trajectory of where life is going. Yes, it can. I'm a witness. Yes, it can. Simple conversations can be life-changing. That is my hope every Tuesday and Thursday when I come up here for these 1800 seconds. Not always something filled with profundity or prolific or profound or in-depth, but just a simple conversation, sometimes with things that we already know, but we just didn't talk about enough. And so it is my goal to rehearse some of those things. Simple conversations can be life-changing. So, Cutler, what are you suggesting? Approach somebody that you can trust. Approach somebody that you love. Approach somebody whose opinion you take to heart. Let them know what you're going through. Say something. Sometimes even call them a helpline. Seeking advice from a professional. These are things that we need to do, y'all. So what am I saying? I'm saying say something when you're not okay, for goodness sake, your sake, and all of the sakes of people who love you. Say something. Say something. And I might close out with this from you all. When you're not okay. I'm talking about tidbits and helpful hints for when we are just not okay. Ain't necessarily nobody done nothing to you, but you're having a blah day, you're having a blah moment, you're in a blah space. Sometimes you cannot change the situation. You can't change what's going on. But I declare to you with my whole heart, even when you can't change it, you can change you. What are you saying? You can change how you respond to the situation. You can change how you respond to the moment. You can change how you respond to the scenario. You can change how you respond to the circumstance. Even when you can't change it, you can change you. Sometimes we feel like we have to wait for a long time before things will change. We feel like we have to wait before it's going to get better. We're in the middle of the week, and so now I have to wait till the first of next week. We're in the middle of the month, and I have to wait till next month. We're in the middle of the year, and I have to wait till the beginning of the year. Absolutely not. Even when you can't change it, you can change you, and you don't have to wait to change because your change can take place immediately. Cutler, what are you saying? Again, I'm saying you may not be able to change the circumstance or the scenario or the situation, but God knows you can change how you respond to it. So if you can't change it, you can change you. Yes, you can. And just as quickly as I say that, let me just say this. Sometimes change is not even necessary. Sometimes it's a matter of the serenity prayer. I got to get up out of here. Sometimes it's just a matter of a serenity prayer that says, God, help me to accept the things that I cannot change. Give me the courage to change the things that I can. The serenity to accept the things that I can't. And the wisdom to know the difference. We can't always change. We cannot always change everything. So sometimes it's just a moment of accepting. You might be sad. And you may just have to come to grips with, you know what, this is just a moment where I'm sad. I just buried my mom. I just buried my dad. I just buried my aunt. I just buried my uncle. I just buried my spouse. I just buried my sibling. And in that moment, you might be sad and just accept the fact, you know what, this is just a sad moment for me. Cutler, I'll be okay. I'm going to get through this, not over it, but I'm going to get through it. And so you just have to accept the moment that, you know what, I'm not okay right now. And you have to be okay with not being okay. I know that was compounded. You have to be okay with not being okay. Accept. Did you see my shoulder? That's one of those. I just have to accept it. I'll never forget. Never forget when I buried my father. I sat on the side of my bed one night, all night long. And I sat there. I turned the light off and I sat in darkness all night long. I sat there until about 5 or 6 o'clock the next morning. I sat on the side of my bed in a space of, I can't believe this, in a space of, I can't do anything about it, in a space of, I feel sad, in a space of, this is my reality. And I sat there and I accepted it. Because there was nothing, absolutely nothing that was going to change that moment. I couldn't change me. I couldn't change the circumstance. I couldn't change the situation. I couldn't change how I responded to it. So I sat there for hours in darkness and I did nothing. And I kept rehearsing all of these scriptures. I kept rehearsing all of these adages. I kept rehearsing all of these cliches. I kept rehearsing all of those things in my head. And it made me exhausted. I'm telling you all, it made me exhausted. Oh, he's in a much better place. Well, I'm not. Well, at least he doesn't have to suffer anymore. Well, I was suffering. I gotta go, but I'm just telling you all, that's where I was. And sometimes you have to say to yourself, you know what, change is not always the key. Sometimes it's a matter of accepting where I am, but trusting that this moment, this too will pass. So it is about the courage to change the things that you can, the serenity to accept the things that you can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. It is about knowing that sometimes you can change. Even when you can't change it, you can change how you respond. It is about the notion, and I'm talking about what it's about. It's about how to handle that moment of not being okay. It's all about making sure that you're striving, not necessarily to see the big picture all the time, but to take life in small pieces. It's about saying something And what is it? It is your success. It is your ability to handle this moment when you're not okay. It's about making sure that you say something to somebody that you trust and love. It's about learning how to slow down in life. Being deliberate and intentional about writing down and taking time, writing time down, writing things in your calendar just to wind down and slow down. Giving yourself permission not to be the best all the time, not to be 100% of the time. Not being embarrassed about the things that make you happy, because when you're having a blah moment and you're having a not okay moment, you just need to be happy. You need to be able to call happiness and command that it comes to you however it comes to you. Sometimes it's about physically getting up, moving, changing your environment. I hope this has helped you all. I really do hope this has helped you, because, again, this is another check-in at the end of the year. We get it, not the end of the year, at the middle of the year. And while we were asking each other and we were asking everybody else, are you okay? This is one of those moments when you say, I have to check in with myself to make sure I'm okay. Because before I can check on somebody else, sometimes I need to check on me. Before I can help somebody, sometimes I need to help me. So thank you all. Thank you for indulging me in this moment, these 1,800 seconds plus tonight. I know I went over just a little bit, but this is near and dear to my heart. We're at the end of the month, and I want to make sure that we are okay. I want to make sure that we are equipped to check on other people and make sure they are okay. So let's keep building community. Let's keep maintaining connectivity. Let's keep our heads up and keep our hopes up. Let's invite other people to come on and let's talk to Cutler, because in these conversations, we really are trying to help save people's lives. Please know that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. I'll see you all the next time I see you. We're coming up on that long, yeah. We're eventually coming up, but for some of us, it'll be a long holiday. And when we get back, I will tell you, let's see. It's the 4th is on. It's going to be on a Tuesday. So do me a favor, y'all. Listen, before you go, do me a favor. Someone near and dear to me celebrates a birthday this coming July 4th. That would be Annie Cutler. So do me a favor and just say happy birthday to her in the chat. Yes, her birthday is actually the 4th of July. So if you don't mind, please say happy birthday to her in the chat. You know you're my best girl. I love you. Happy birthday. I'll see you soon. All right. I'll see you all. Good night.